Alright, so what's up, guys? We are out here on another running adventure, and we're about to jump over this little blockade. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, we had to do a little stop in our run, but it's okay. Let's see. We'll get back on pace. Here we go. So, let's see. What are we gonna talk about today? What? Ooh. Overcoming adversity. Here we go. So adversity, right? It can come in many forms. Something as little as, let's say, a math test, or it can even be argued that it's something that is essentially a hardship. You know, something that you got to overcome. You know, you hear the big phrase, overcoming adversity, right? It's something, you know, whether it may be an obstacle or any form of things standing in your way. So for some, it can be put there on purpose, right? You go to school, you know you're gonna face that test, the adversity of that thing that you expected to happen. But for others, it could come as a surprise. It can be, you know, where they were raised, where they were born, the simple fact of where they grew up, and the circumstances that affect that situation, right? So you come from a lower income or underachieving neighborhood or environment, and you're gonna have to deal with that adversity that presents itself from that. Namely, if you want to achieve, you know, let's say the good life or the life that you've always wanted, whether it may be as a corporate CEO sitting in a nice corner office in downtown, right? Or you want to be a professional athlete or musician or whatever you want to be. Regardless, you're gonna have to overcome adversity in any form. Now, you can say, like how I was talking about before, where you come from makes a huge difference, because the simple fact of your environment has such a huge effect on you. It's going to influence whether you want to practice and get better, how often you're going to be able to practice, and give you the resources that you need to improve, right? So one book that I was reading recently, I still haven't finished it, I'm about halfway through, is a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, right? I hope I'm saying his name well, right? But you get the gist. So in that book, he describes, and I don't want to ruin any spoilers, but here we are. So if I'm spoiling it, feel free to click off, but here we go. So in that book, he talks about the idea of birthdays and how they relate to people's upbringing in terms of whether they become a master in whatever sport or field they work in. So one concept that he brought up was, it was a youth hockey all-star team, or almost pro, I think it was like 12 or 13 years old, you know, a travel team, a nationally ranked team. And they had pretty much the best of the best playing on that team and everything. And he named the roster, height, weight, birthday, everything. And what people might immediately want to look at is like, height and weight, this dude's a big strong dude, therefore he'll probably be, you know, have an easier time getting into that team. But one concept that actually caught me by surprise was the importance of the birth date. Now, contrary to what you might initially think, that birthday might simply be like astrological sign or simply luck or spiritual powers affecting that, but it goes beyond that. You see, when these youth leagues and organized hockey leagues that so we're gonna try not to lose our concentration here. And when these kids grow up and enter into the potential league or the potential ability to join that all-star team at 13, 14 years of age, how they were raised, how they were growing up has an impact, because those kids that were pretty much the big kids of their time, because what happens is the idea of a cutoff date. So when these kids join these leagues, they're trying to make up, after this cutoff date, which for some it may be all the kids born before January 1st are too old, right? So what happens, right, is that all those kids that were born simply days or a month or two after that January 1st cutoff date are still eligible to play. And oftentimes what happens is that these kids are playing with kids that are less in size, less in maturity, you name it, just simply based upon them having nearly a year, almost a year or close to that in age, above their peers. So what happens is that over time, from these kids, these older kids, these bigger kids, from being selected over and over again into these different, all-star teams and so forth, is that they have access to better equipment, they practice more, they have more positive encouragement from their coaches, more motivation to keep going, simply because they're doing better, right? Their coaches like them, the fans like them, the girls like them, you name it. So all that positive feedback that they're receiving and access to resources drives them to be able to practice a sport more and more, because it's not simply, in being the best, to be the best, you got to put in the hours to do it. And it's not about just simply having the best equipment, the most expensive, accessories, or baseball bats if you're playing baseball, or football cleats. But with those, they offer the ability to train more and train longer. And that's what it boils down to, is which kids are putting in the most hours to get better at what they're doing. So it comes down to the 10,000 hour rule, which was a concept to where, like, if someone puts in a lot of time into something to become hopefully a prodigy or a master in what they're doing, some scientists came together and founded, the theory that it takes roughly 10,000 hours to become a master in something. And you might be wondering, wow, how long does that take? How long would that take me to, break such a time frame? And roughly, you can do the math as, let's say you're doing 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. In roughly 10 years, or even less, you'll have broken that 10,000 hour mark, and you will be a master or a Mozart if you become, proficient at an early age. So what happens in these professional athletes and simply prodigies is that they are able to hit this marker of 10,000 hours at such a young age that they are able to simply practice more and more based upon their access to all these resources and things that the other kids, those that weren't either born on those same dates or simply didn't have the motivation to keep going, didn't have. So that constant stream of back and forth of practice and getting better and access to more and doing more and achieving more pretty much makes them even better.